I knew how to quit you.
This seems so weird.
There's no place like home.
I'm gonna make him an offer down with you.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Gone with the Wind. I mean, if only we'd done last week's one a day later, we could have gotten the Critics' Choice Awards as well, because it literally happened that day. But it's all right. It gave us something to talk about this week. So, but Dan, how are you feeling?
I'm doing good, man. I just love talking about awards. You know, what's funny is my guild, I ended up voting in my guild awards yesterday. So that's all done with, all the binging of all the movies and everything that I needed to do to make sure that I was up to date on all the movies and whatnot. I ended up having a vote in my own Film Critics Guild Awards. So that was a lot of fun.
Yep. And yeah, it's just a bit of chilling. I'm just sort of catching up on 2022 releases among other things that I have to watch for shows that I may be doing for other channels. But I did finally get around to seeing X. It's a really good movie.
X is very good. Have you seen Pearl yet?
No. Like X only popped up on one of my streaming services the other day. I haven't hit. Like I was considering going to see Pearl before I saw X, but I was like, no, I don't know if I want to watch them in the order that they came out in. But anyway, first one we're going to start with the LA Film Critics Association, because they announced their winners recently, and I'm going to start from the bottom and root myself up to Best Picture. But the first award is what they call the New Generation Award, which was won by Davy Cho and Park Ji Min for Return to Seoul. But I don't know if you've got any thoughts about that at all. But
I had a screener of Return to Seoul, and I forgot to watch the screener, so I have no idea about that one.
But the next but moving up, they've got the category for Best Film Not in the English Language. The winner is EO, and the runner-up was Saint Omar. This one kind of surprised me because I would have thought Triple R would have been up there. Because I don't know much about either of these movies. I just don't think they're going to be in the Foreign Film 5. But Dan, what are your thoughts about either of these?
I mean, I like the EO, don't get me wrong. And we had a special award in my guild about animals. And EO is probably going to win the award in my guild, like Appreciation of Animals award in my guild. And I think EO is going to win. It's a very interesting film. Saint Omar now, I think, could get legitimate shot at getting a nomination for Best Foreign Language Film. But yeah, why RRR or Decision to Leave didn't win is kind of a surprise to me.
Yeah. But moving up, they've got something that's called a Douglas Edwards Experimental Film Prize. And the winner was De Humani Corpus Fabrica. Once again, I don't know any of that, but yeah. But moving on to cinematography, the winner of that was Michael Dymek from EO, and then the runner-up was Hoyt van Hoytema from Nope, just coming out of nowhere. But Dan, what are your thoughts on the cinematography?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the cinematography in EO. Don't get me wrong, and I like the point of view from the donkey in EO. But come on now, you guys got to come up with a little bit better options for cinematography. I mean, cinematography in Nope was good, but I mean, what happened to like the Batman and Emancipation and Everything Everywhere All at Once? I mean, aren't those some of the best cinematic experiences of the year? I would think that be something more in line to what would be the best, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like cinematography is always that interesting one because like if you go through all the critics groups around America, and that like it always seems to be a lot more of the random side to what wins and then what actually gets nominated, because Nope is another one I didn't expect you to see as the runner up either, because especially like once
Yeah.
again you had another Roger Deakins movie out there, and all that. But
Yeah, Empire of Light. Yeah, you're right.
we'll get more into that when we get into the critics choice awards. But moving up, we've got best music slash score. The winner of that was Triple R, and then the runner up was EO.
Wow.
One of these days I'll get around to watching Triple R. I just haven't seen it yet, so I don't
Yeah, it's
know
on
much about this.
Netflix. You
Yeah,
have Netflix, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah, I mean, I love the music in RRR. I mean, I don't know if I would say it's a score though. There's some really good songs in RRR. Am I misunderstanding the category here or what?
Well, I mean, I don't think you are. The category is just called best music slash score, so it's probably anything which is like a musical or score. I think it's.
Oh,
I think what LA does is they don't distinguish between all. So like, and that I think it's just best music in general.
yeah. I mean, the music in RRR is fantastic. I mean, there's at least 3 or 4 songs that are really good. Of course, Natu 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 and Dosti are the 2 most notable songs that could translate to Oscars. You never know. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, as we said last week for the Globes, like Natu Natu is nominated at the Globes, so that I think that is the one that has some sort kind of a leg up at the moment. Um, but moving up to production design, the winner is Avatar: The Way of Water, and the runner up is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, I haven't got around to seeing Avatar yet. The trailers look really beautiful. And yeah, it definitely is great production design. Personally, I probably would have switched this and had Everything Everywhere be the winner, but I mean, I'm not too upset about it being this way either. Dan, what are your thoughts on production design?
Yeah, I mean, production design. I mean, I could see Avatar being in the mix for production design, but I think, you know, Everything Everywhere, the Batman, some like maybe even like Top Gun Maverick, uh, some of those type of films have better production design. The Northman, those type of films have like a lot more going on in the production, and how the film is designed around the production design. Um, yeah, Avatar. I don't know. I mean, it's a beautiful film. Don't get me wrong. I mean, VFX and all that stuff, but production design, I think it's a little bit of a stretch.
But yeah, next up we've got best editing. The winner of that is Blair McClendon for After Sun, and runner up is Monica Riley for Tar. This one surprised me a little bit. I would have thought it would have been everything everywhere all at once, just because, like, especially when you're transitioning between different multiverses and all that, that is just great editing in alone. But Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? Everything Everywhere All at Once with that, but also Top Gun Maverick, because they had 800 hours of footage, Malcolm, that they had to narrow down to what they made that movie, and all those dog fights and all that stuff. That's some amazing editing right there. So a little questionable there with the editing choices.
But yeah, for best animation, the winner is Pinocchio. The runner up is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This kind of tracks to what sort of I've been hearing a lot. Like been hearing a lot of people say Pinocchio is the winner. It's on Netflix. I still have yet to see it. I'm probably going to catch up to that very soon, actually. But Dan, what are your thoughts about best animation?
Finally, we get a category that kind of goes in line with a lot of the other awards and a lot of the guild awards. And I think it's going to be the winner of my guild as well, more than likely. I don't know for sure, but that's how I voted. I voted Pinocchio and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On as 1 and 2.
Yeah. For best screenplay, the winner is Todd Field for Tar, and runner-up is Martin McDonough for Banshees of Inisherin. Once again, this one is pretty much in line with sort of the nomination, what's sort of been coming out at the moment. But Dan, what are your thoughts about screenplay?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, Tar. If you haven't seen Tar, the first 2 acts of that movie, it's all about the screenplay. It's all about the script, and it makes Kate Blanchett say these amazing monologues and dialogue and all this stuff in these scenes, and that's what makes her so noticeable when it comes to her being an actress. And then I love the script in Banshees of Inisherin. It's my favorite film of the year, so I there's no problem there with screenplay as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Next up is best documentary. The winner was All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. The runner up is Fire of Love. I mean, documentaries is always a weird one, so these two could be there. They might be snubbed. I have no idea at this point. Dan, what are your thoughts?
No, you make a good point, but I'll tell you right now, Malcolm, these are my top 2 in my own guild's documentary category. All the Beauty and the Bloodshed's a phenomenal documentary. It's a story of this woman who is an artist, but she's also an activist, and her 2 lives come together in this documentary, and it's about like the opioid, the guy that created OxyContin, and how his name is on all these museums and places all over the world, and how she's fighting to get this guy's name off of all these buildings, and stuff. And of course, Fire of Love. I mean, it's just what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful movie. It's about volcanoes, but within the story of the volcanoes is a romantic comedy, and it's so amazing. The archival footage is astounding in Fire of Love. So these are my 2 top documentaries of the year, so they're right on par.
Yeah. But next up is best supporting performer. Best supporting performer. They don't separate these into sort of actors and actresses. So it's just sort of anyone can be there. But the 2 winners is Dolly De Leon from Triangle of Sadness and Ki Kai Kwan. I probably butchered that name, from Everything Everywhere All at Once. And the 2 runner-ups is Jesse Buckley for Woman Talking and Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway. I mean, all these names can be popping up a lot around other guilds as well. So I think this is pretty much tracks for what these 4 could be in here. But Dan, what are your thoughts about best supporting performer? Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I like the supporting. I actually like these choices. Dolly De Leon, I think, is a surprise to some people, but not if you saw Triangle of Sadness. Ki Kwai Kwan, obviously, if you saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, you know what a great job he's done. Brian Tyree Henry is probably the best part of Causeway. Who was the other one? That was the other
Jesse Buckley for Woman Talking.
And she's probably, her and Claire Foy are probably the best 2 parts of Women Talking. So they kind of got this category pretty good. I mean, I might have put Brendan Gleeson in there if it was me, because I kind of like everything. I mean, Banshees of Inisherin or somebody like that. But this isn't too bad. This isn't too bad at all.
Yeah. And then for best lead performance, the winners was Kate Blanchett for Tar and Bill Nighy for Living. And then 2 runner-ups is Danielle Deadwyler for Tool and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. once again, this kind of tracks with all the names that have been sort of thrown out there. Like, can't play it. I've still got to see Tar. I really do want to see it, but I'll probably try and see it coming out. I had no idea Bill Nighy was a lead in a movie this year until these awards came around. But yeah, I mean, I like Bill Nighy, and yeah, and I think that, I mean, if he gets an Oscar nomination, would this be his first one? Because I don't think he's had one before.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
would
that
be
could
his
be.
first. Yeah, it would be his first for Living. Well, Malcolm, Living came out last year at the Sundance Film Festival. Sony Pictures Classics bought it, and they didn't put it out till this month. Like this past week is when this movie came out. After all the people, if you had bought a ticket for a virtuals or went to Sundance you could have seen Living. That's how long ago this movie came out. But Sony Pictures Classic was trying to maneuver it in a spot where Bill Nighy could get nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor. Now, what really is telling about these four is there's 3 women in there and 1 man, and it just tells you how strong the woman category for Best Actress is. I mean, Kate Blanchett is phenomenal. Michelle Yeoh is phenomenal. Who is the other one?
Danielle Deadwyler for Tool.
And Danielle Deadwyler. Those are probably the top 3 Best Actress nominees. They don't even have more than 1 man in here. But I liked Bill Nighy in Living, but I don't think he's not my top actor in a male role. So I just think they just went to the artsy fartsy role kind of avenue as far as nominating Bill Nighy instead of somebody like Brendan Fraser or Colin Farrell or somebody like that, which I think deserve that honor much more than Bill Nighy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like as I said last week, I'm fairly confident Brendan Fraser is getting nominated regardless. I think this is part of the LA film critics by going like, don't forget about Bill Nighy. He actually was in a movie this year, and he's really good in it. So I think that's part of the reason why some of these that LA are doing is like it seemed to be outside the left. Is like they just want to highlight going, don't forget about this. This still exists too. So yeah. But moving up. Yeah, but moving up, we've got Best Director, and the winner of that was Todd Field for Tar. And then the runner-up was, I'm going to butcher this name, but S.S. Rajamouli for Triple R.
Look, I think these 2 are going to be in the mix for Best Director come the Academy Awards. If SSR Rajamouli gets in there, it would be a huge upset. Now, Todd Field, I think, did a good job with the script and the direction, but I don't think it's like a slam dunk for him to get in Best Director in one of these other some of these other awards. I think he did about great job on like 2/3 of this movie. The third part of this movie is kind of like all over the place, and it's kind of weird. But the first 2 segments are really good in Tar. I mean, I don't know how you can not nominate like people like the Daniels and Steven Spielberg and James Cameron, but you also don't know if they had a chance to see Avatar: The Way of Water in time. I would hope. They nominated for production design, so they must have seen Avatar: The Way of Water. So I just think it's a kind of an upset that these 2 are the winners of director. You know, I don't think they deserve to be the top of the top of director, even though both did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to what I said earlier. I think the LA film critics are trying to put spotlight on some, because I mean, like Spielberg, Cameron, the Daniels. I think if everyone knows, like they've been talked about a lot. Like I've not heard a lot about Todd, like especially when it comes to Tar. I've not heard a lot about Todd Field's name and director a lot. So I think this is just the LA film critics like doing what they want to do. Is like we'll put spotlights on these because I mean even like SS, the Triple R director, I think it's one of those ones that I think if you get a foreign director in this year, it's going to be him. I mean, I've got no doubt about it at this point.
It could be Park Chan-wook though for Decision to Leave. That movie is really, really good.
I mean, it could be, but it's just one of those ones because I think the reason I'm sort of leaning towards SS Rahamuli is it's more because his name's been popping up a lot when it comes to best director. I haven't heard a lot about Park Chan.
Wook.
Yeah. I mean, that was something else. I would have said something else, but anyway, and then we get to Best Picture, and it's a tie, which apparently has not happened a lot in the LA Film Critics Association. But the winners is Everything Everywhere All at Once and Tar, which they clearly love Tar. So, but
yeah, obviously they love Tar. That's a surprise that it's up there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably expected because I think both of these are probably going to sneak into get into Best Pictures, and Everything Everywhere All at Once can join the club of a movie that came out really early in the year, still getting a lot of love awards season. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the Best Pictures?
Yeah, I mean, you expect to see Everything Everywhere All at Once here. You know, you just expect it, and I think it's going to win a lot of Guild Awards. And people, you know, there's this whole thing, Malcolm, that people are saying, "Oh, if Everything Everywhere gets a lot of Guild Awards, is it sorry, is it going to be enough for it to win the whole big prize at the Academy Awards? Are people going to go? Are the actors and the people in the production side that have to vote individual on their various awards, then they're all going to come together and vote on Best Picture? Are they all going to see all this and say, yeah, we're going to give the weird multiverse movie from the weird directors with the Best Picture? It just shows that maybe the Academy has really changed, and we're going to have something like this that could win it all. And all these Guild Award wins are going to start adding up.
Yeah. Going back to the documentary, I did have a quick look at the awards calendar, and then I noticed that the PGA Documentary Awards have actually been announced. Nominations have been announced. So the 7 documentaries that are nominated for the PGA Documentary Awards is All That Breathes, Descendant, Fire of Love, Navalny, Nothing Compares, Retrograde, and The Territory. Any thoughts on the PGA Documentary nominations?
Well, where is Fire of Love? Where is all the beauty and the bloodshed?
I mean, Fire of Love is there. I might have just missed it when I went past it.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking to myself, look, I've seen them all. I've seen every one of those films. And like, there's a couple of them like that don't stand up. Like The Descendant really doesn't kind of stand up for me as for a potential Oscar nominee. Navalny, now that came out so early, but it's such a powerful story, and it's kind of, we're living in this whole Russia and Ukraine and this whole thing that's going on in the world that I can see Navalny, and and a lot of it was kind of like made in real time, you know? So I can see Navalny really getting in the 5 at the Academy Awards. Retrograde, I liked it. I didn't love it. I think it kind of fell short. It started out really good, and it kind of fell short. The Territory, oh, what a tragic. Just, you know, I live in a state, Malcolm, and you live in a country, and I live in a state which the environment is a huge part of where we live in our surrounding, where, you know, and it's beautiful, you know, and we need to start worrying about taking care of our countries and our states and the places that we live, because construction is all around me, all through the different various places that I go and drive and whatnot. And it's sad because Florida has such a great, like like wealth of environment with rivers and streams and oceans and woods and forests and stuff and beaches, and yet we keep building and building and building, where it's like, can we please stop? I know there's a lot of people here, but we got to figure another way to, instead of keep destroying all the stuff. And I'll tell you, territory is just very, very, very tragic, Malcolm. It's about Brazil and their rainforests and stuff. Oh man, just kills me.
Yeah. As an interesting stat that they have in this article that I was looking at is but apparently, like in recent years, like 4 of the winners of the PGA documentary feature nominations have turned into Oscar winners, because the last 4 that did it was Searching for Sugar Man, Amy, OJ Made in America, My Octopus Teacher, and last year's Summer of Soul. So I mean, there's a good chance one of these 7 could end up winning again this year. And then there's only 5 of these 7 are going to could be nominated. So just something I looked up, just correctly when we were talking about it, but going to move on to the
real quick. You said they didn't have All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, and another one to me that's one of the best of the year is Turning Every Page. And so those 2 aren't in the mix, so that's not a good sign for those come the Oscar time.
Yeah. But yeah, another one that just sort of caught my eye when I was looking at the awards count that I'm going to just talk about. I know this is probably not going to mean anything to you, but it does a little bit to me, but it's just over the bridge. But it's the Australian the Australian Film Awards, because they were announced just recently as well. So I'm going to run down them because I can, and I had them up. So for best screenplay, and they only have a handful of awards anyway, so yeah. But for best screenplay, the nominations is Todd Field for Tar, Warren Johnson for Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, Martin McDonough, The Banshees of Inisherin, Ruben Ostlund for Triangle of Sadness, and Dana Stevens and Maria Bello for The Woman King. I didn't even know Maria Bello wrote that. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the nominations for best screenplay?
That's a pretty solid list of screenplay right there, Malcolm. I can't argue with that group of people for screenplay.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like there's a good chance all 5 of these will be split up into adapted and that and it's getting the a weird thing that when I was going through the screenplays on Gold Derby, I can for some reason Glass Onion is counted as adapted, which it's a little bit weird to me, because while I know it's supposed to be a sort of a take on the Agatha Christie's novels and that, I didn't think it was adapted enough to count as adapted. I thought it still could be an original.
Well, it's adapted because there was already a movie called Knives Out, and this is a sequel. So it's adapted from the previous movie, which was an original screenplay, but now this is a sequel, so it's adapted.
See, I find that weird a lot, but
that is a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. Yeah. Anyway, but for best supporting actress, there's got Kerry Condon for Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Olivia de Jong from Elvis, and Stephanie Zhu for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Jean Smart for Babylon. So aside from Kerry, Curtis, and Zhu, who've been sort of coming up there, Olivia de Jong is a kind of a nice surprise here. So I believe she played Priscilla, if I remember rightly. But she's also an Australian, so I'm not too surprised that she would be nominated in the Australian Awards. And Jean Smart coming out for Babylon is just a nice. So what are your thoughts about supporting actress?
Yeah, I mean, you got 3 people that like I said, Stephanie Sue, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kerry Condon, that are going to be in the mix come Oscar time. But yeah, Jean Smart, I mean, she was okay in Babylon. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far as to be nominated in Best Supporting Actress in any. But you don't know what what people are thinking, So
Yeah.
in Australia is Australia. You don't know what they have a different mindset than other people, maybe.
Yeah, for supporting actor, we've got Brendan Gleeson for Banshees of Inisherin, Woody Harrelson for Triangle of Sadness, Sean Harris for The Stranger, Brad Pitt for Babylon, and Ki Kwai Kwan for Everything All at Once. Once again, there's three names that are probably locks for the Oscars and that, and then Woody Harrelson and Sean Harris. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, the guy from The Stranger, he's Australian, and that movie is, I believe, an Australian movie, The Stranger, even though it's on Netflix. Very good movie, I might add. And I think the guy that made Ruben Ostlund did The Square. I think there's a connection in Australia with the Triangle of Sadness, if I'm not mistaken, with Ruben Ostlund. So to throw in Woody Harrelson, that kind of that makes sense. Kind of like you said, Olivia DeJonge from Elvis. That kind of makes sense. They're starting to see some of these little ties to Australia in some of these nominees.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same best lead actress too, but one of them is in the conversation anyway, so it doesn't really count. But we've got best lead actress Kate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Margot Robbie for Babylon, Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, all five of these names have been popping up a lot when it's come to this category. I mean, Ana de Armas is one of those ones, like, as much as the movie itself is not that good. I think Ana de Armas, could still be the sole nomination for that movie. She was great as Marilyn Monroe. Whether or not it happens is yet to be determined. But Dan, what are your thoughts about lead actress?
Yeah, this is a pretty. I mean, there's about 7 or 8 women that could be in the lead actress category, and these 5 are obviously 5 of the top ones. And of course, you get the 2 Australians that are in there, Margot Robbie and Kate Blanchett. So that they're going to have them in there. And but Danielle Deadwyler's not in the mix, so that is something that it might be that movie isn't translating to foreign audiences, and it is a uniquely American story, Till. So I would look to see how she does in BAFTA. That could be a tell if it's going to translate into the Academy Awards or not.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is I don't. It all depends on it depends on if they've got their hands on Tool at all. Because as far as I know, Tool has not been released in New Zealand or Australia yet. So that could be the other reason too. But for best lead actor, you've got Austin Butler for Elvis, Joel Edgerton for The Stranger, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, and Hugh Jackman for The Sun.
Couple Australian guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes. Once again, like a couple Australians. But I mean, 4 out of these 5 are getting a lot of buzz. Anyway, so so I think those 4 could be popping up again at come Oscar time. And yeah,
The Stranger. I love seeing The Stranger in here because The Stranger is a Australian movie, but it's a Netflix movie over here in America. So we have to watch it. We watched it on Netflix. So it's neat to see some of these people from The Stranger crop up in here. And they're not going to even that's not going to translate to our awards over here. So it's kind of interesting. And I like The Stranger too. So
yeah. But for best director is pretty much what we saw at the Globes: James Cameron, the Daniels, Baz Luhrmann, Martin McDonagh, and Steven Spielberg. That's pretty much the obvious 5 that's been popping up a lot.
Yeah, the only thing is, Malcolm, is like, why can't some of these awards in these countries who are giving their own awards out and stuff see that there are some amazing movies made by women? You know what I mean? And that's going to keep popping up as part of the narrative and the conversation with Women King, Women Talking, Till. But like you said, you don't know. Maybe some of these movies haven't been seen by Australia or whatever, and so that's why they never got recognition. But it's kind of sad that when you have so many great movies by women, that none of these women are getting recognized in some of these awards.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like, yes, like it'll be good to have some women here, but I think it also shows sort of how stacked Best Director is going to be this year too. Because, I mean, the direction in these 5 movies are just really good. And like out of the ones you mentioned, I know for a fact like The Woman King has come out in here. I'm not too sure about the other 2. Yes, like Woman Talking that but yeah, I know The Woman King at least has. And then for best film, once again, these 5 have been popping up a lot. Avatar: The Way of Water, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Banshees, and Top Gun: Maverick. Dan, what are your thoughts on best film?
No, I mean those probably. I mean, it just shows you. You know, you look at some of these countries that are doing their awards, and just this case, it happens to be Australia. It just shows how these movies has transcended into a whole nother part of the world, and it really tells you how popular these movies are. And if they're translating to Australia, they're probably going to be in the mix come Best Picture time for America, because they're some of the best movies of the year here, and they're definitely the movies that a lot of people are considering for the best. And good thing we have 10 too as well, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, but that's all the for the Australian awards they do television show. I'm not going to bother with the television side of it.
Right now, we don't talk that.
But moving on to the Critics' Choice, and for almost all the categories, with the exception of director and picture, which they've actually got 6. But yeah, I'm going to once again start at the bottom, working my way up to best picture. For best score, we've got Alexandra Desplat for Pinocchio, Michael Giacchino for The Batman, Hilda Guanadotter,
Hilda Gudendotter.
What Dan said.
That's a tough one. Hey, that's a tough one. I trust me. I don't blame you at all not being able to get that one. But over the years, I started like repeating it. Hilda Gudendotter.
Yeah. But yeah, she's got 2. Actually, she's actually nominated twice in this category for both Tar and Woman Talking. And then you got Justin Hurst from Babylon and John Williams for The Fabelmans. Best score. I mean, once again, like a lot of these names came up a lot. Because I think at least 4 of these was nominated at the Globes as well. But I think at the Oscars, I do think we're going to Hilda's only going to get in for 1, and it's going to be the other 5. But Dan, what are your thoughts? Dan?
Yeah, Hilda. Okay, people don't realize. Well, obviously, the people nominated in the awards probably realize, but there is a lot of piano, and there's a lot of like contemporary music that is played. They're saying it's by Mahler, but what it is Hilda Gudendotter. She is weaving in like piano music and practice recital music and the actual score of the movie with supposedly real music from composers and stuff. And that's how she came up with the score in that movie in Tar. But I think it's great, but I don't think it's going to translate to a best and you don't know what's eligible. That's part of it. You don't know if she's taking music that's real, I mean, actual music that she's weaving in with her music, and is it eligible? Because they have different rules in the Academy Awards, and sometimes stuff's not eligible. But her score in Women Talking is very good. I myself love the score in the Batman. I could listen to that all day long. And the score in Pinocchio is very good as well. So I mean, I'd like to see Michael Giacchino win this, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you do bring up a good point, because like the critics, they just call it best score, but the Oscars is best original score, so and I think it needs to be at least 75% original, or some there's some percentage that needs to be. But moving up, to best song, and spoiler alert, there's still nothing from Lyle Crocodile here. We've got Carolina for Where the Crawdads Sing, Chow Papa for Pinocchio, Hold My Hand for Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Natu Natu for Triple R, and New Body Wumba from White Noise. This is, I mean, with the exception of White Noise, it's basically the same five that was nominated at the Globes. So I'm kind of safe to say this could be the five we get, but at the Oscars. But in saying that, we haven't got the shortlists yet either. So one of these songs could not be on that shortlist. Though, and I believe the shortlist come out in 2 days. Actually, if I'm right in this, but Dan, what are your thoughts about best song?
Look, I can't stand White Noise. I don't like the movie. That being said, New Body Rumba is actually kind of gets in your head when you're listening to it, and it's in the credits. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. What is going on with all these people? And there's no Loud Loud Crocodile songs in there. Like, I mean, Look at Us Now is a phenomenal song. Top of the World. There's just so many good songs in Loud Loud Crocodile. What is going on? What do they have? What do they have? Some kind of bias against Shawn Mendes or something? I don't get it. But this is a good lineup for songs. There's no doubt about it. I think Chow Papa is a little overrated. I mean, I listened because I have all the potential Oscar nominated songs, Malcolm, on a Spotify list, and I listened to them over and over and over the last couple of weeks. And Chow Papa, I like it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a little overrated. I don't think it's one of the best songs, even though they did send it to me in a CD form. The others, that's my nominees. These were literally my five without Natu in there. I mean, I did have Natu. I didn't have New Body Rumba, and I didn't have Chow Papa. I had Take a Look at Us Now from Loud Loud Crocodile in my five for best song.
Yeah, I haven't seen Lyle, so I don't. But I have listened to that song you're talking about. I prefer the song. I prefer these songs over that one. I don't get the love for Shawn Mendes. I really don't.
I never even knew who the guy was before listening to Loud Loud Crocodile. I never even knew who Shawn Mendes was, Malcolm. And I've fallen in love with the songs from that movie.
But anyway, the next category we have is Best Foreign Language Film. We've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Argentina 1985, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Close, Decision to Leave, and Triple R. Once again, I think 5 out of the 6. This is basically what came out with at the Globes. I can't remember what the one that wasn't at the Globes that they've added in here, but Dan, what are your thoughts about foreign language film?
I'll tell you right now, I saw Bardo about 75% of Bardo, and I walked out of the theater. There's a couple reasons why I walked out of the theater, but I'll tell you right now, that is just a film that is just all over the place. There is a ending sequence that, quote unquote, brings the whole movie full circle. I'm not going to say anything in case you want to watch it. It's on Netflix. Bardo is on Netflix, and it's from Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, one of the greatest filmmakers alive right now. He's won 2 Oscars for the last 2 movies he's won made. I mean, those aren't my favorite of his movies, but he is a very good director. And Argentina 1985, I was going to watch it on Friday before I voted, and I couldn't find the time to watch it, so I never did watch it. I do have a screener of that. But the other ones are all pretty much the contenders that we're going to see. The only thing is, Malcolm, RRR isn't eligible in the Academy Awards for Best Foreign Language Film or International Feature Film because India did not nominate it as their choice to be potentially a Oscar contender. So the only way RRR could get in at the Academy Awards is for Best Picture.
It's definitely that. I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting that way. And I think But in saying that, I think maybe India didn't submit it because they thought, well, Triple R's going to get a lot of love in the other categories anyway, because they probably saw how much love Triple R was getting overseas. Like, wow, there will be fools if we submit this for foreign language. Because, I mean, it's getting a lot of love anyway, so it's probably going to get, so we'll put in something else and maybe try to get some love in the foreign language that way. But yeah. Moving up to Best Animated Feature, we've got Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Turning Red, and then Wendell and Wild from Netflix. Once again, Pinocchio, Marcel, Puss in Boots, Turning Red, all 4 came out at the Oscars. So it looks like those are the 4 that are pretty much going to be locks. It's just that 5th spot, which at the moment I don't think there's been any kind of correlation anyway, because the Globes had it in Euro, I think, and a lot of other ones be popping up. But Dan, what do you thought's Best Animated Feature?
Yeah, you're right, Malcolm. I mean, the 5th spot has kind of been all over the place. It could be My Father's Dragon. It could be Wendell and Wild. It could be Lightyear, which I doubt it. You know, I loved Lightyear. I know I'm in the minority as far as Lightyear goes. A lot of people did not like Lightyear. But you know what's funny? I always thought about this category, and it's not going to happen. But they could go across the board with Netflix films, Malcolm, with animated feature. You know, they could do Apollo 10.5. They could do The Sea Beast. They could do Pinocchio. They could do Wendell and Wild. And they could do My Father's Dragon. Can you imagine all 5 movies being Netflix in this category? Wouldn't that be crazy?
I mean, it definitely would, but unfortunately, for that to happen, I think it would have to be a year if Pixar, DreamWorks, A24 stopped doing animated, and if they just all imploded as like there's only Netflix movies we had.
Well, this is the first animated film, I believe, from A24, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, and they had a petition to get that into the mix for best animated in the best animated feature category. And I'm glad it got in there because I think it's one of the best of the year. But you're not going to get rid of DreamWorks, like you said, Malcolm, or Illumination Media Animation. They're fantastic. But I love always seeing Cartoon Saloon crop up every once in a while, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I think that 5th spot is most likely going to go into a foreign language film. Personally, as
It
much
could
as
be
I
Little
do.
Nicholas. It could be Little Nicholas. That's a French film. It's okay. It's not great. Don't get me wrong. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like as much as I also did enjoy Lightyear as well. I mean, and I've still got to see The Bad Guys, but like as much as like this year to be one of the first years we can actually get multiple DreamWorks movies in here for The Bad Guys, I think it's just looking at the nominations like I don't think The Bad Guys has a chance at the moment anymore, but I would love to be surprised though.
Yeah,
I think
I'm the
I
same
think
way as you are.
because I think on Gold Derby I've got Pinocchio, Marcel, Puss in Boots 2, and I think I've got My Father's Dragon as the last spot. I think it's probably not going to be till the Annie Awards come out where I just figure out what I'm going to put there. But moving on to Best Comedy, which they have at the Critics' Choice Awards. They've got Banshees of Inisherin, Bros, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, Triangle of Sadness, and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And I like this category. I do like the fact that they've kind of reminded people that Bros actually did come out, because I still haven't seen it yet. I do really want to see it. I've heard a lot of good things about it. But it's just one of those ones like a lot of people just forgot it came out because it just didn't get a lot of buzz box office and that. But Dan, what are your thoughts about Best Comedy?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to come down to either Everything Everywhere All at Once or Banshees of Inisherin. And my argument is, I don't think there are some comedy elements in Banshees of Inisherin, Malcolm, but this is a very serious drama picked movie with some comedy elements. As one kind of a comedy character, one kind of a comedy related. I don't know what the word is. I'm just missing the right word off the top of my head, but this is a really serious movie. Why this is in comedy, I will not know. the other thing is Bros. I miss Bros because of a hurricane. I had a hurricane. I missed 3 movies during the hurricane that came that was here in Florida during that time. I missed 3 screenings, and one of them was Bros. So I never did get around to getting back to see Bros. But you know, I like award shows to do have a comedy category because they just don't get enough love. I don't know if I would have put Banshees of Inisherin in a comedy category, even though it's kind of a comedy relief type of character.
Yeah, so the one thing I will say about Banshees of Inisherin is I've seen this argument pop up a lot of times about, is it really comedy, is it not? According to Wikipedia, and which is not a completely reliable thing, but I think when it comes to genres, I think they tend to. But they could. The opening line is they say it's the Banshees of Inisherin is a 2022 black tragic comedy film. So I mean, it's one of those ones that's kind of like a tragic comedy and all that. So I think it's just comes down to like different countries with different sort of comedy sensibilities, because Martin McDonagh is Irish, so it's maybe the Irish comedy doesn't translate to America. That's probably why you see it more as a drama sort of thing. But yeah, so I know like New Zealand comedy doesn't quite translate well in America, all the time as well. But with that being said, moving on to best visual effects, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Triple R, and Top Gun: Maverick. This is pretty much the standard ones that have been coming up a lot this season. But Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this visual effects is going to come down to these 6. 5 of these are going to get in. One of them is not going to get in. And it's going to be interesting to who doesn't get in, because these 5 are all fantastic, you know?
Yeah, no, it's one of those ones like, and if I was to guess it, like, as much as I did enjoy the visuals of the Batman, a lot of people have been saying that Triple R is really good visually with their visual effects. Once again, I've still got to give it a see. I know it's on Netflix and all that, but yeah. But the one I could see maybe missing out is sadly the Batman. Just because I think I just think compared to all the other ones, like a lot of their visual effects is more of the subtle side of visual effects, which may or may not get in, but it's just out of the 5, like the other ones I think are more visually appealing in a way. But yeah,
and I think too, Malcolm, real quick, I think the visual effects in Batman kind of meld with the cinematography, and you kind of lose the visual effects in the cinematography by Greg Fraser, and they really meld those two very nicely in the Batman, which gives Batman that kind of like noir feel, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was actually trying to get with what I was saying. But yeah, but moving on to best hair and makeup, we've got Babylon, The Batman, The Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Whale. Pretty much the kind of standard ones. And as it has been in the past, best hair and makeup does correlate with lead actor a lot. So I think if The Whale wins, I think Brendan Fraser is winning for lead actor.
Yeah.
It's,
If
it's,
you get to, go ahead.
yeah, I was about to say, it's like, I haven't gone back through the category just to see sort of how much what the percentage is there. I might actually do that next time we sort of do one of these. I'll bring it up, but yeah, I mean, it's just like the last few years, it's definitely been hair and makeup has been the lead actor as well.
Yeah, I mean, if this doesn't go to The Whale, and if this like is an early category in the Critics' Choice Awards, and you see that it does go to The Whale, you can almost guarantee that Brendan Fraser is going to win Best Actor. And for all the discourse about the fat suit and this, I'll tell you what, I thought the fat suit was very effective, and kind of being a shocking kind of thing about this guy and his body and his appearance. You know what I mean? And I love how they show it in scenes. You haven't seen the movie, so I don't want to kind of spoil where this really becomes kind of a very, very kind of eye-opening part of the character. So when you see the movie, you'll see that, oh, okay, yeah, this is really a part of what Brendan Fraser is doing, the hair and makeup, you know?
I mean, I didn't realize it was a fat suit. Like, I've seen the trailer. I thought he actually put on weight for the role because I thought I heard something about him putting on weight. But he's definitely put on some weight.
Guy.
Maybe, yeah,
he's a big guy. He put on some weight, but he's also a tall guy. So they really had to do a lot to get him to the weight and to look like the guy, the actual guy. You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't think they would have him eat lots just to get to that size because I mean, if they want the movie to take about 10 years to make one, just didn't say that we haven't seen Brendan Fraser much the past 10 years, so who knows what he's been doing.
Well, yeah. But I also like Colin Farrell in the Batman. I think he obviously doesn't look like the Penguin that we know of, you know, in the Batman TV show or the animated show or the Penguin from the Tim Burton Batmans, but he looks different. And he's unrecognizable. There's no way you could have ever recognized Colin Farrell in that getup in that movie if you didn't already know it was Colin Farrell.
Yeah, and yeah, for reasons I'll get into when we get to the next category. I think the ones that could be knocked out of here that might not is like Babylon, Elvis, and Black. I think Elvis and Babylon are probably the two which could be knocked out here, or at least one of them could. But as I said, I'll get to that right now because going into costume design, and for costume design, it's got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Elvis, The Woman King, and Babylon. I'm personally surprised the Batman didn't actually get in here as well, but
ridiculous. Why is Babylon getting into these categories? Hair and makeup and costumes. That the hair and makeup's not all that impressive, and the costumes aren't all that impressive. If you're going to put costumes, you had to have the Batman. The costumes in Batman are amazing. I think they're amazing. But also Till, which is when you get a chance to watch Till, look at the costumes that Daniel Deadwyler wears. Look at the clothes and the colors and then like the second half of the movie, Malcolm, she wears completely different clothes. Like you see the arc of her character throughout the movie, and the clothes are part of that arc of what Daniel Deadwyler is doing. Yeah, why is Babylon getting in here? In these two categories, I have no idea.
Well, like here's the thing. I think when it comes to the Batman, I think a lot of it. I think, take nothing away. I'm not taking anything away from the Batman personally. Because I do like the movie. I think, maybe especially in the critics, group, maybe there's not a lot that they did costume wise in the Batman that isn't is different from other Batman movies. Well, yes, like it's a different kind of suit and all that. I think it's probably one of those ones like, did they do something interesting that they didn't do in a different Batman movie? So I think that's probably what.
My thing is Catwoman. Look at Catwoman. Look at the Riddler. Look at the Penguin. Those three right there, they don't look like any other Catwoman, Bat or Penguin in the Riddler I've seen in any other movie. And the Batman suit is completely different too. So that's, to me, that's why that should be in there. But hey, whatever.
I know it's different, but I think because the Riddler suit, it's a unique design for Riddler. It's one of those ones that could do a big thing about this, but not really. It's just one of those ones like the Batman. I can see why maybe the Batman's kind of missed out here. But that being said, with what did get in here, like I will defend Babylon a little bit here. like hair and makeup. I don't quite get why it's getting in there, but I've seen I haven't seen the movie because once again not out, but the from what I've seen in the trailer, the costumes in Babylon is actually really good. I actually really do like what I've saw about the costumes, and it's one of those ones like period piece sort of movies do a lot well when it comes to costume design. And like everything every all at once is pretty obvious. Black Panther, especially for the designs of the Taloketians, that's just really good there.
Well, Black Panther, they won the costume award
Yeah.
back when it came out before. So it goes to figure that they're going to do another great job with the costumes and makeup and hair and Black Panther. There's no doubt about it. They were phenomenal the last time. I just don't think it popped this time around as much as it did the last time. Malcolm, what do you think? What do you think about it? You agree or disagree with that?
I mean, it's one of those ones like when it comes to the costuming for especially when it comes to sort of Black Panther and the Wakandans and all that. Like a lot of the costuming is basically same as the first one. As I said, I think part of the reason the sequel got a nomination in here is because of the new designs they brought in, such as the Atlantean. I'll even though they're not Atlantean, I'm going to call them Atlanteans. It's easy to say. Forces, because I think, and all that sort of thing, I think was part of what pushed them into here. I think if Black Panther Wakanda Forever missed the nomination here, I think the Batman probably would have gotten in. So yeah, but yeah, and all the others are pretty obvious. I think if one kind of misses out here, I think it might. I mean, I've seen the trailer for The Woman King. The costumes look good in it. I think this might be the one that misses out. Either that or maybe Glass Onion, because I think Glass Onion is one of those contemporary. But either way, it's hard to say which one's missing out. Anyway. And then moving on to best editing, got Babylon, Top Gun Maverick, Avatar: The Way of Water, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Elvis, and Tar. These are pretty much the obvious ones. Once again, Babylon's getting a lot of love here. But Dan, what do you?
I don't get it. I just am not. Look, the first two segments of Babylon is really good, and it's really crazy and wild and out there and different. But then it just kind of goes down this path, Malcolm, where it's just like this depressing kind of path. Maybe it's Chazelle's way of showing how Hollywood can eat people up and chew people up and spit them out. And so it has a darker turn to the movie after it starts out kind of bright and colorful and upbeat, But yeah, it has some interesting editing. Let's put it that way. But you could have added RRR in here in editing, because there's some great editing in RRR. You know what I mean? You could have added some, there's a movie called Missing that's got great editing. There's some other things that you could have added, but I mean, obviously, if you've seen the movie, it's one thing. If you didn't see it, you don't know. But this is on par pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I think there's a Triple R could get it in here. Once again, once the Eddies come out with that might sort of help lead us to sort of be able to guess which way it's going to lead. Moving on to production design, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, The Fablemans, Avatar: Way of Water, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Elvis, and Babylon.
My thing, Malcolm, is this. Can I just? I don't mean to cut you off. I don't see the production design. I know it's Steven Spielberg, but where's the production design in The Fablemans to me? I don't see a lot of production design. I know they recreated his house and they recreated his kitchen and I don't know, Malcolm. Go ahead.
Well, I think that's it though. I think it's one of those ones that, well, a lot of the production design is not the big flashy stuff like you'd see in Black Panther, Avatar,
Batman.
and that, yeah. But I think with the Fablemans, I think it's one of those ones like sometimes some of the best production design is the least production design, if that makes any sense. Like because it's one of those ones like whenever any kind of biopic or biopic-ish type movie gets in here, I think a lot of people are the same. It's like they're just recreating stuff. It's like what's new about that? But I think that kind of is impressive in a way. If you make something look really good, that it looks like the house, and but yeah, that's kind of where I'm going for the Fablemans getting in here. But other than that, like that's probably the one that might miss out at the Oscars, if the Fablemans miss out anywhere, because I can't see any of the other 5 missing out on productions on personally. But yeah.
No, you're right about that, Malcolm. I love the again not going back on the costumes and hair and all that stuff, but I also like the production design until I like how they showed the first half of the movie where it's all colorful and bright, and they showed the Chicago and all that stuff. And then when it gets to the darker stuff, things start going in different colors and darker colors, darker themed stuff. But I just wanted to throw in Hill there for a quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like it depends on whether that would count under production design or editing. It's whether it comes in, whether people would see that as production design.
Oh, you saying editing? I'm sorry, I forgot where we were at.
No, there was production design. Depends on sort of what people see about that aspect when it comes to the changing color, and that was. I think it depends on how people see that as production design or a different category altogether. But I mean, look, as much as I haven't seen Tor. I will get around to seeing it when it comes out. But I think it's one of those ones like at this point, I don't know if it's going to sneak in anywhere. I think if anything, it's going to be one of the acting categories. But but moving on to cinematography anyway. We've got Russell Carpenter for Avatar: Way of Water, Roger Deakins for Empire of Light, Florian Hofmeister for Tar, Janusz Kaminski for The Fablemans, Claudio Miranda for Top Gun Maverick, and Linus Sandgren for Babylon.
Where is Robert Richardson? Where's Robert Richardson, Malcolm, for Emancipation? How can you not think that's some of the best cinematography of the year? I just don't get it. I just don't understand. To me, go ahead. And where's Greg Fraser? Where's Greg Fraser? Go ahead.
I mean, I think it depends on if I think this kind of shows like that cinematography this year was stacked as well, because I think there's a lot. I think it's one of those ones like doesn't matter which 5 you put into this category. I think you're always going to get someone going, oh, where was this person? Where was this person? Because I remember when the Batman came out, which was around the Oscar
March.
theme at the end. It's like everyone's like, oh yeah, Greg Fraser's going to definitely get nominated for this. So I mean, it's kind of looking like that's not the case. But I think once again, I think it's also the case of the Batman. I think it's just one of those ones that it just came out a little bit too early for people to sort of remember the cinematography for it. And I think it's just bizarre, like of note, like I would have also put Everything Everywhere All at Once in here. Because I think the cinematography of that is great as too. So I think it's just one of those ones that came out really early on that is hard to remember the cinematography of it if you haven't rewatched it.
I don't get why Tara's in here, Malcolm. I just don't get why Tara's in here. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, maybe that's the one that gets knocked out. Because I mean, it's one of those ones like, as I said, it's that like a lot of these categories is 6 nominations as opposed to the 5, which the only one that's been 5 is animated feature, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
But moving on to adapted screenplay, we've got The Whale, Living, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, She Said, and Women Talking. I think this is safe to say maybe this is the 5. Like, and I know I was talking to with someone else the other day about she said like and they were going like they'll be surprised if it gets nominated anywhere for in the Oscars just because of the sort of like underlying stuff that it's about. But I think if it's one of those ones like I mean I trust the Oscars a little bit that they would nominate based on the quality of the movie as opposed to the content. And I think if anything, I think like adapted screenplay and maybe Carey Mulligan for acting, I think is where she said might get in. But what are your thoughts on adapted screenplay?
Yeah, I think this is a 2-horse race, Malcolm. I think you did looking at the Woman King for Sarah Polley. She didn't get into director. Maybe this is where they could reward her. And obviously Ryan Johnson, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, he either got nominated or won for Knives Out. I think that's who you're looking at here as potential winners for this one. And I love the script of Glass Onion. I think that is really hard movie to follow along with, but I think the script is really fantastic in that. And Living is kind of a understated script that I notice it's starting to pop up in places. And look, it's just not like this flashy script where you like a lot of fast words and fast paragraphs and fast sentences and flashy kind of stuff. And then obviously Women Talking is just like 9 people talking in a barn the whole time. So the back and forth and all that is really kind of impressive. And it's based on a very, very, very well renowned book, Women Talking. So I think it's going to come down to Glass Onion and Women Talking in this category.
Ryan Johnson didn't win for Knives Out here, but he was nominated. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones. I think if Ryan Johnson gets in at the Oscars again, I think there's a chance he might win, but it may just be a case of to apologize for not having him win for. But moving on to the original side of things, we've got Tar, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, and Aftersun. I'm not gonna lie, even though The Fabelmans is, I know it's a biopic based on Spielberg's life, it's still weird to see it in original screenplay. But the hub,
I think this is Martin McDonagh. I mean, I think either it's coming down. A lot of these categories, Malcolm, are going to come down to Everything Everywhere All at Once and The Banshees of Inisherin. And those are my 2 favorite films of the year. And a lot of these categories are going to come down to, and it's sad in some of these categories that they are in the same category because I like to see both of them win, you know?
oh yeah. And like as I said, sort of with the Globes, like it's especially when it comes to the likes of Everything Everywhere All at Once and Banshees, I think depending on what gets nominated at the Oscars, I think these 5, I think like with original and adapt, I think these are probably going to be the 5 that we might get. And although I'm saying that we might get something strange pop up as well, but I think but for Banshees and Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think whatever wins original, the other person is probably going to win direct because I think and as much as I like Spielberg, I'm not counting him out of this at all. I think there's a chance Spielberg loses for this year for direct.
Yeah, I'll tell you right. Wait, with all the buzz coming out of Toronto, Malcolm, it was like, oh my God, Fabelmans. Is it going to be Spielberg's year? It's going to be Spielberg's year. And then all of a sudden, he started kind of losing stamina there. It started kind of losing, and Banshees and everything kind of cropped up and went ahead of the Fabelmans. So it could be another year like last year where Spielberg came close, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones, and funny enough, talking about directors, we're going on to Best Director, and I think this is the first year Critics' Choice have expanded the director nominations to 10, and yeah, and actually, before I say what they've nominated, is early on, Brian Nusbaum did put a comment here, asking us, like, with the Critics' Choice adding more to the directors, like, is there a chance that they could add more at the Oscars?
Please, Malcolm, we need the acting categories. And I know this has been a bane of contention between you and me for a couple of years now. We've been going back and forth on this for a couple of years now, you and I have. I think you need more directors and you need more actors in the acting categories. And I know you disagree, but go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. I don't disagree with director. I think at the Oscars. I think at the Oscars, I think the director branch, the directors could be up, especially the fact, like, we talk like every year we go, oh yeah, this best director race is a really stacked year, and all that. So I do agree on that hint. With the actors though, I don't think you could expand it. Partly because one of my worries is with expanding is it's not so much they'll get a more wider range of different actors in it. My worry is that, especially when it comes to supporting actor, my worry is you're going to get a lot more from the same movie get hit, which it's
Okay.
it's
Good point.
that's kind of why I think 5 is a good number. Well, it's still common that you'll get like 2 from one movie in there. There's still I think
Look,
if
I
you
had that.
expect,
Look, can I, not to cut you off, but I had that opportunity because I vote for my Guild Awards, right? And I got to vote five people in the supporting act, and I didn't vote for 2 people in any of the 4 categories. I voted for 5 different people in each of the categories, so 5 different people from 5 different movies. Like there might be somebody in supporting actress that's in a movie, and then somebody from supporting actor like Stephanie Sue and Ke Huy Quan, for instance. They're in the same movie, but they're in different categories. But I wasn't going to do Paul Dano and Judd Hirsch like that. I might have did Paul Dano, but I'm not going to, because I think you want to champion a lot of different actors, but you also, like, you don't want it to get redundant where you are doing that, like you're saying, a lot of actors from the same movie in the same category. That I definitely agree with, Malcolm.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it could be that at the Oscars, like, there is no one putting multiple actors from there in that same thing. It just happens to be that maybe 50% of the people put one actor and 50% for the other, and that got them both in that category. So I mean,
Good point.
but but anyway, the nominations that the Critics' Choice have for Best Director, we've got James Cameron for Avatar: The Way of Water, Damien Chazelle for Babylon, Todd Field for Tar, Baz Luhrmann for Elvis, the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Martin McDonagh for The Banshees in Inisherin, Sarah Polley for Woman Talking, Gina Price Blyford for The Woman King, S.S. Rajamouli for Triple R, and Steven Spielberg for The Fablemans. I mean, I think all these 10 people are the ones vying for those 5 spots at the Oscars at this point.
You hit the nail on the head, Malcolm. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, these are the 10. I mean, what a great job by the Critics' Choice Awards, getting these 10 into their 10. And then, I mean, a lot of people would argue, the guy from Top Gun Maverick should be in there because of what he was able to do with Top Gun Maverick. I understand. I forget for the life of me. I forget his
Joseph Kosinski.
Joseph Kosinski on the top of my tongue. But like you said, if it's 5, you're going to argue these other 3 or 4 should get in. If it's 10, you're always going to add another 1 or number 2. It's just the nature of the beast, right? You're always going to have 2 or 3 more that we're going to add to it. But these 10 are fantastic. I could not argue with these 10 at all. If I had to put somebody else, like I said, Park Chan-wook for Decision to Leave, maybe, or the director of Triangle of Sadness, maybe, or the director of Till. But these 10 are fantastic, Malcolm. I think it's a 2-horse race. Like I said before, it's going to come down to the Daniels and Martin McDonagh. I think we're starting to get this kind of narrative where it's these two movies fighting it out in a lot of these categories. I think Steven Spielberg has dropped to 3rd or 4th.
Yeah. But I mean, the other scenario I could see maybe happening, which I kind of don't know if I want to see happen, to be honest. But as far as I know, I think James Cameron for Titanic that was going to go nowhere. But yeah.
My thing, how about this, Malcolm? 2009, when Avatar was up for Best Picture, I believe, right? 2009, it lost to The Hurt Locker. This massive juggernaut of a movie, $2.7 billion, loses to this little indie war film. This could happen again to Avatar, and it could lose to 2 little small independent, really independent, with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Focus features backed in Banshees of Inisherin, but that could happen again to Avatar. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably going to happen, to be honest. But it would have been funny if Kevin Bigelow directed another movie last year and got nominated against James Cameron.
That would be wild. That would have been wild.
But anyway, the next category is Best Acting Ensemble. We've got The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Glass Onion, The Woman King, and Woman Talking. Surprisingly, Black Panther is not here. And I mean, honestly, I probably would throw the Batman in here as well. But Dan, what are your thoughts on acting ensemble?
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe I'm the odd man out here. I don't know. I just don't think the performances in the cast of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever are as good as the last Black Panther. It has nothing to do with Chadwick Boseman. There's a lot of good actors in the movie, and I like the movie. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But the one that really rubs me the wrong way, that in these ensemble categories that isn't getting in, is the Batman. Like John Turturro, Paul Dano, Robert Pattinson, Zoe, whatever her name, Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell, Andy Serkis. I mean, just it goes down the list. Jeffrey Wright. What a great cast and a great movie. And you throw great around too much. It's one of my top 5 movies of the year, The Batman. And I think there's so many elements of this movie that are great. And one of it is what a great cast Matt Reeves assembled for this movie. And they all knock it out of the park for me.
Yeah, I think it depends on sort of how people sort of see the ensemble categories. Because I think the ensemble has been a big contention for everything, really. Because I think there's been movies with 4. I think Mass, was an ensemble at the SAG Awards last year, I think. And that was one I was like, well, it's only 4 people. It's like...
And Banshees has got mostly 4 main people that are in the movie. There's 3 or 4 other like ancillary characters, but they're not in the movie that much. It's basically a four main characters. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think actually where I was going with that, because I think for me, like people may look at the Batman as like, well, it's pretty much Robert Pattinson's movies. Like he's the anchor of it. Like all the rest of the ensemble, while they are great actors, they just don't do a lot in the actual story. I don't know. Trying to sort of figure out why people left a movie out is hard. And I'm going to stop doing that now because we're moving on to young actor/actress. We've got Frankie Corio for After Sun, Jalen Hall for Tool, Gabrielle LaBelle for The Fabelmans, Bella Ramsey for Catherine Called Birdie, Banks Repeater for Armageddon Time, and Sadie Sink for The Whale.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on young actresses?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was asking you for what your thoughts.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I didn't know. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was jumping into it so fast there, buddy. Well, I think this is fantastic. I love this category. And this is another bane of existence for me where I'm kind of getting upset is that every year we have this handful, 6 to 10 really great performances by young people, and we just don't have a young actors category in the Academy Awards, and I just don't understand. I mean, look, to me, Haley Joel Osment should have won an Academy Award. Obviously, Anna Paquin was the last young person to win an Oscar for the piano, and we've had like the kid from The Wonder. God, I can't think of his name right now. He was in Room. He was in Room as well. I can't remember. Tremblay, Jacob Tremblay. You got to give young people their own category. And I love how the Critics' Choice is doing that. And then now look at all these young people that we get to talk about on here, Malcolm, in movies that are really good. The kid from Armageddon Time is fantastic. I really liked him a lot. I liked the kid from Till in maybe about a fourth of the movie, but he was really good in it. Sadie Sink, if you know anything about Stranger Things, she's killing it in Stranger Things right now. No pun intended. She's killing it in Stranger Things, but she's fantastic. I mean, this is a fantastic category, and I just wish the Academy Awards would take notice on some of these Critics' Choice categories that are really I know, why do we need Best Ensemble if you have Best Picture, Because it's different. Why do we need Best Young Actor category if we Best Supporting and whatever? But I think there's just so many movies and there's so many performances. God, you got to start doing a few more categories.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those ones like it's when it comes to sort of like the acting categories. I think it's one of those ones like I don't think we need ensemble if you got Best Picture. I think that's kind of
Redundant.
Yeah, it's to me it's kind of done, especially if they include ensemble, and then it's just the same movie that's won Best Picture anyway. But I mean, young actor actress is one that I think could be there. I think it's one of those ones. I think the Academy don't want to add more. I think they are happy with the 23 they've got at the moment. I think they don't really want to sort of add more because I think they know if they add more, there's like because I've heard a lot of people like going that they shouldn't really have an animated feature award.
If I had to take some out, Malcolm, I would take out the shorts. And I know, oh God, how God forbid, how could you take out the shorts? Because nobody sees the shorts. And every once in a while, you get a big name actor in one of the shorts, or some big name person produced one of the shorts or something. But other than that, there's nothing really to the shorts. And I know, okay, so you're a filmmaker, right? And you do a short, and that's your way of start burgeoning your career, building your career. You do a short. That's fine. Okay, you did a short, and that's the start of your career. Well, then when you really start your career, you got to do a feature. I think get rid of the shorts. Add in best young actor, whatever. Add in, I don't know what else. Stunts. To me, Malcolm, stunt coordination or something to do with the cast, like maybe casting director. Best cast would go to casting director. Best stunt coordination, best young actor. To me, those are three categories I'd love to see the Academy Awards do and get rid of the short categories. I know that's God forbid. How dare I say that?
Yeah, I mean, I will disagree with getting rid of the shorts. I think it's one of those ones. I think the Academy wants to highlight like a bunch of different ones, and I think it's one of those ones. I think the short, especially when it comes to the shorts, I think that's a good way of kind of going. Look, here's an upcoming director that we're going to highlight here at the Oscars. because back in the day before he was a fully fledged director, Taika Waititi won the shorts category.
Oh, really?
At least he was nominated. I'm pretty sure he won though.
No, I agree 100% with you, Malcolm. I mean, it's a great way of showing burgeoning filmmakers. It's a terrific way to do that. I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I know they've sort of tried adding things which didn't work, especially when it comes to certain popular films or scenes. He was nominated for Best Live Action Short for Two Cars One Night. He didn't win though. But yeah, I think it's just one of those ones. Like, I definitely think they should add stunts. And I think that's one that I think. Look, I think casting director. I don't think it's personally. I don't think it's one that I think should be at the main one. I think they should do casting director for maybe the governor's side of things. But it's just so I think casting directors is one of those ones like, well, yes, it's good to acknowledge that they put a good cast together, and that's all good. But it's just one that I don't think many people would actually care about to see get up on stage and thank them there. But I think it's one of those. But anyway, we could do a whole episode about this. But in fact, there's a whole random episode about categories we think should be in the first place. But moving on to supporting actress, got Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Jessie Buckley for Women Talking, Kerry Condon for Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Daphne Zhu for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Janelle Monáe for Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery. Angela Bassett, Kerry Condon, I think, are two of the big locks that I think are definitely getting nominated. Jessie Buckley, I want to say could get in as well. I think because I think her name's been thrown around. And the other two spots is really hard to shot because on one hand, you could see both Curtis and Sue getting in for everything everywhere all at once. But I haven't seen Glass Onion, but if Janelle Monáe is getting recognized, she could get in there as well. But Dan, what are your thoughts about supporting actress?
Look, when I first saw Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, I was like, wow, Angela Bassett, fantastic. She's in a third of the movie, and she's out of there after a third of the movie. I don't want to say what happens. Now, Janelle Monáe has a much more substantial role in Glass Onion. I would rather see Janelle Monáe get in, get rid of Angela Bassett, get rid of Jamie Lee Curtis, because I don't want to see two actors from the same movie. I would throw in Hong Chow from The Whale. And that, to me, would be 5 movies, 5 different actresses from 5 movies. But a lot of people were saying Carey Mulligan. Now, she did not make this 6, right?
No.
So you got a race. Both of the women categories, Malcolm, you have a real race on your hands with who's going to get the 5 spots at the Academy Awards, because the women categories are absolutely stacked on supporting and best actor. And a lot of people would argue Claire Foy for Women Talking could get in here, but it seems like Jessie Buckley has popped to the top of the Women Talking people, because Ben Whishaw has been getting kind of left out places. So, but that's what I would do. But I mean, I'm glad Stephanie Sue got in somewhere, because she was amazing in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I just don't think Jamie Lee Curtis should have got in there.
Yeah, as I said, I think if one of the people from Everything Everywhere get in, it's going to be Stephanie Zhu. Just as a comparison to the Globes, like I think it's safe to say, I think Angela Bassett, I think Kerry Condon, I think they're both popping up a lot when it comes to supporting actress. So I think if any two are ones that are going to pop up in the Oscars, I think those two are going to be the more likely ones that are going to come up. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis also got on for everyone once, but as I said, like for the Golden Globes, like they're gonna do what they do, and that's get people to their party. Because the other one I think that could possibly get in here is Dolly De Leon from Triangle of Sadness. I think is the other one that's been that name's been sort of being thrown around there. So I still think there's a chance that Carey Mulligan could sneak into the Oscars because but She Said only has been nominated for one thing throughout this. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with She Said. So I don't think it's going to get a lot of love, but I do expect it to get something. Moving on to supporting actor, we've got Paul Dano and Judge Hirsch from The Fabelmans. We've got Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan from The Banshees of Inisherin. We've got Ki Kwai Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think this Oscar season, I think either The Fabelmans or The Banshees are going to get 2 in supporting actor.
Okay.
Look, I'm fine with only one of them doing it if 2 of them do it at the Oscars. But I think Ki Kwai Kwan is pretty much safe at this point to get in.
Yeah. And Brendan Gleeson is pretty much a lock in supporting as well. Paul Dano and Judd Hirsch have been missing places though too. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. So the interesting thing that I've been seeing when I've been going through these like looking at these, like when it comes to Banshees and Fabelmans, like a lot of the critics groups have had either one or the other, and it's not always been the same one. So it's going to be interesting because see what happens because.
Well, I like Ben Whishaw, Malcolm. I think even though it's a cast full of women, that I think Ben Whishaw stands out in a cast full of women and women talking. And I think it's sad if he gets left out and you put 2 people from Banshees or 2 people from Fabelman. I definitely don't think 2 people from Fabelman should be in here. I can argue with 2 from Banshees because I think if you see the movie, you'll realize how good both Barry Keoghan and Brendan Gleeson are, and they both deserve it. Now, not for Fabelmans. I would definitely get rid of one of those guys from Fabelmans, if not both of them, and put Ben Whishaw in there.
Yeah, as I said, it's just probably just the thing is like, because I think it's going to come down to on how people are thinking. Is like, as I said, I don't think the critics are putting 2 from the same movie on their own ballot slips. I think it just happens that, especially when it comes to Fabelmans and Banshees, people just can't decide between those 2 actors on which one is the better supporting actor. So that's probably why it's coming up as a split. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out there, because you could get like Ki Kwai Kwan, Brian Tyree, and then one of the Banshees and Fabelmans in there, and then you get a spot for someone else. So maybe Ben Wishaw's next in that way. I don't know. It's definitely like supporting the actors. One of the interesting things, especially with the fact that 2 movies are getting love from 2 different people. So
yeah, no, good point. Good point.
But moving on to Best Actress, you got Kate Blanchett for Tar, Viola Davis for The Woman King, Danielle Deadwyler for Tool, Margot Robbie for Babylon, Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, for this category, it's definitely one of those interesting ones because Danielle Deadwyler's kind of been missing some places, but but so she could miss out. But then you got Michelle Williams, who a lot of people have argued doesn't deserve to be here, so I think it's going to be interesting because, well, yes, we all know she's campaigning she got the studio to campaign her for Best Actress. And it's just one of those ones that that maybe the people who vote on Best Actress will look at it as like, well, no, she's supporting, and that's how Michelle Williams misses out at the Oscars, and the other ones get in. So, but Dan, what are your thoughts on Best Actress?
Yeah, you're right. Danielle Deadwater to me is a lock. She's in third place in my ballot. I put her in third, and I think she should be in the 5. That's just what I believe. And I believe Michelle Williams does enough work to be in the 4, in the 4th spot in the Best Actress race. But if she was in Best Supporting Actress, she'd be a lock to win probably. It's just she decided she wanted to campaign herself in Best Actress. And so, okay, you're going to campaign, then you're not going to win because you're going to be 4th place or 5th place more than likely. But you got to, if you're the Academy Awards, I think you got to get either Viola Davis or Danielle Deadwyler in the 5. I just think it's they're too good of performances from those two not to get in the 5, and definitely Michelle Williams is 4th. And so that's how I would go. I mean, it's a 2-horse race to win actually between Michelle Yeoh and Kate Blanchett. Do you want to give another actress her 3rd Oscar like they did with Frances McDormand instead of giving Carey Mulligan her 1st? Or do you want to give somebody who's been in the industry for decades, Michelle Yeoh, her 1st win, or give Kate Blanchett her 3rd win? So it's interesting. It's interesting kind of question that we're asking ourselves here,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones I'm like, just looking at this list, I think that Kate Blanchett's the only one that I'm confident enough to say is a lock, just because she has been popping it. I'm semi confident that Michelle Yeoh's getting in as well. But it's just one of those ones like Best Actress could be any 5, and I'll be happy with it because some of these actresses are great, and yeah. But moving on to Best Actor, we've got Austin Butler for Elvis, Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick, Colin Farrell for Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for After Sun, and Bill Nighy for Living. This is pretty much the with the exception of Paul Mescal for After Sun. Like the other 5 are pretty much the standard ones that have been coming up a lot. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I don't know much about After Sun, but I think he's the one that's missing out here for unfortunately. Because I think the other 5 are the 5 that's getting in for Best Actor. And it's the one I'm fairly confident. And talking about Elvis, I think it's safe to assume that Tom Hanks is going to miss for Elvis because I don't think I've seen him pop up anywhere. Maybe was it? Because I don't think he even popped up as the Globes, which is a place he would have most likely. Yeah, Tom Hanks didn't even get into the Globes, which is the one I thought he was most likely going to be getting in. But then, what are your thoughts on Best Actor?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what could happen, Malcolm, and it's because of how the movie is being released. Tom Hanks could, I mean, just there's a sliver of a chance, could sneak into Best Actor for A Man Called Otto. I'm telling you, he is phenomenal in the movie. He's fantastic. Obviously, we know this is a remake of A Man Called Ove. We know that. Everybody knows that. It's an American version of the same story.
I didn't.
Well, it is. So, but the trailer is misleading. The film has a darker side to it. But Tom Hanks is back to the old Tom Hanks in A Man Called Otto, Malcolm, where he's given these great performances and in his personality as who Tom Hanks is, America's dad, whatever you want to call it. I think if anybody could slip into Best Actor and knocks like a Bill Nye, a Tom Cruise, or Paul Mescal, any of these guys out, I honestly think Tom Hanks has a shot. But I'm just upset that nobody recognizes the work of Will Smith. And I know, oh God, for Will Smith, you're bringing up Will Smith. I think he's fantastic in Emancipation. I think he gives one of the best performances of his career, one of the best performances of the year. That's just my opinion, and I know whatever. He can get nominated. I want to put that out there. He can get nominated. He can't show up for the awards, but he can get nominated. I want people to know that. All the people, he can't go to the award. It doesn't mean he can't get nominated. He can. He can. But he's not going to. He's not showing up anywhere. Nobody's putting him on any of the ballots, so he's not going to get nominated. But I just wanted to give Will Smith a little bit of love. And I'll tell you, a sliver of a chance for Tom Hanks for A Man Called Otto.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones, like, when it comes to Will Smith, it just shows, like, how stacked Best Actor actually is, honestly. And it's one of those ones, like, I think with the Oscars, I think just because of last year, they might, well, yes, I know he can get nominated. I think the year after the whole incident, I think they might just, like, not that I'm saying the Oscars would do that, but I think there's a chance that some people won't put him on the ballot, just like on their choices for Best Actor, just because they don't want people to remind people of the whole incident from the year before. But that's my view. I mean, I've still got to see Emancipation. I'll get onto that eventually.
But this is basically Brendan Fraser's to lose, right? And all these awards that he's been nominated.
Yeah.
It's up to him to lose. And then that's what it's going to come down to, because none of these guys are all going to be second place to Brendan Fraser when it comes down to it, right, Malcolm?
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Fraser's the name that's kind of the one that everyone's saying is the one lock to win. Although in saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Cruise sort of steals that win away. Just for the Oscars, because I think both Tom Cruise and Brendan Fraser are two actors which, like, have a really weird thing. I think, but both if either of them win, people are going to cover the, oh yeah, no, that's just the Oscars saying we're sorry for the way we've treated you over the past years and such. But yeah, have this win to apologize.
Well, there is,
even though they both deserve it as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, there is a narrative, and I don't want to get into this whole going down this whole rabbit hole, but there is a narrative for Tom Cruise, Malcolm, and the narrative is this: 35 years ago, Top Gun came out. It was a huge hit, a massive hit for Tom Cruise, and the same year he was in a movie with Paul Newman, The Color of Money. 25 years before The Color of Money, Paul Newman was in The Hustler, doesn't get nominated, doesn't win, whatever, or maybe he was nominated, he didn't win. Then 25 years later, he wins. This is 35 years later for Cruise. How ironic if he ends up on the same path as Paul Newman did, a guy that he was in a movie with, The Color of Money, and then he then gets there is that narrative. And the closer you get to the nominations, the more chances people are who are gonna get on their soapbox and talk about this narrative. People like my buddy Scott Mantz and Jeff Snyder and some of these people.
Yeah, and I think they just recently gave Top Gun Maverick a re-release as well. So I'm pretty sure that's them re-releasing Top Gun, going, look at our movie, look at how good it is. Just this, it came out. But moving on to Best Picture, we've got Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, Triple R, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. This is pretty much the standard 10. Like, once again, the Wales kind of missed out here, but as I said when we talked about the Golden Globes, like, this is the one that I'm pretty sure that Brendan Fraser getting in for actor, I think it's missing Best Picture. Partly because, like, from all I've heard, it's like the movie itself is decent, but it's all because of Brendan Fraser's performance itself. So I think, I think that's the narrative that's going to get here is like it's not going to get in Best Picture. I'm almost confident it is. I've still got it on my Gold Derby predictions at the moment, but it's number 10. It's probably the first one that I knock out for something. But yeah, but I think this is
Yeah, I mean,
could be the 10 that we get at the Oscars. But Dan, what are your thoughts?
no, you're right. This is a really damn good list. Just like director, that was a damn good list. But this only 5 in director at the Oscars, so 5 of those are gonna get chopped off. But here, this is a really good 10. And I think you're right. I mean, look, I think The Whale is a phenomenal film, and I love the camera work. I love the movement of the characters and how they stage it like a play because it's based off of a play based off of a true story, and but it all comes down to Brendan Fraser. But I also think Sadie Sink and Hong Chow are both fantastic in The Whale, and I'd love to see Hong Chow slip in there for best supporting actress, and she's really good also in The Menu. So she's having a good year. Hong Chow is, but yeah, I mean this is going to be an interesting race if we get an Indian movie in Best Picture, yet an Indian movie doesn't get nominated for Best International Feature. That's going to be really cool to see RRR slip in there, and the word of mouth and the song. If the song gets in, Natu 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 or Dosti, or even SS Rajmouli gets in for director, things are starting to work in the favor of RRR.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be the whole Parasite thing all over again.
Yep.
But
and they do like to champion these underrepresented films, and that's recently when they added all these new members to the Academy, Malcolm, and we're starting to get that kind of feel where I love that when you get these underrepresented films, it's underrepresented people. And last time we got a big Indian film that really blew up was Slumdog Millionaire, one of my favorite films of all time,
Yeah, and it's one of those. Now, I mean, now Slumdog Millionaire, it's one of those ones. It's a movie about India. It's actually not an Indian. Yeah, it's not actually an Indian movie. But I got what you meant. But yeah, as I just actually realized, they actually have 11 nominations, and I was looking at the Golden Globes to see sort of what the correlations. 9 out of this 11 was all nominated at the Globe. So I think the only 2 that weren't is Triple R and Woman Talking. So I think, so I definitely think that at least 9 of these are probably going to be safe come Oscar time.
And I think it all depends on how Sarah Polley does. If she gets into adapted screenplay, you're probably looking for a Best Picture nomination for Women Talking. Or they're saying, we're not going to nominate Women Talking because we're going to nominate Sarah Polley in Best Adapted Screenplay, and that's our way of showing our love for her. Maybe Jessie Buckley in Supporting Actress, or Ben Whishaw in support. And those are other ways to show the love for Women Talking. But there's not a whole lot of, you could do song, you could do visual effects, you could do director, or you could do Best Picture. Those are the only ways you really could do a whole lot for RRR.
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, I think they can find places for Triple R. I think if, but yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to Women Talking, I think once we get to the DGAs, the SAGs, and all that, they'll probably be where we start getting this picture of how Women Talking is going to do, and if it's sort of still in this way. So, at this point, I think the Critics' Choice did a good job of sort of keeping it kind of on the tip of the tongue. Whether or not they can sort of push it down the throat of these other guilds is the other thing.
Yeah, and like I said a while back, the guilds, all these smaller guilds, like in the local areas, if it starts racking up the wins in these guilds, and I know Sefka's the Eastern something Eastern Film Critics, they had already won Everything Everywhere All at One already won. So it's all about what's going to start racking up the wins in these smaller guilds, and then how that translate to the campaign by A24, Focus, whoever made RRR or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's one of those ones, like, especially for some of the below the lines categories, we won't truly know the what the scope is on what could be nominated once the shortlist comes out in a few days. But I'm not going to do a special episode in a couple of days to talk about them, but we'll probably be back in the new year.
Maybe next week. You want to come on? You want to come on Christmas? Want to talk about the short list on Christmas, Malcolm? I'll do it if you want to. Or the day before Christmas, 24th. Well, because you're 12 hours ahead of me. So 24th is the 25th for you. And the 25th is the 26th for you, you know? So whatever.
Yeah.
That's a Monday for you. The 26th is a Monday, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, whether or not we do something next week or not is another thing. If anything, we'll be back in the new year. Once the Golden Globe winners get announced or something, I don't know. But that'll be it from us today. Dan, where can people find you online?
You can find me at fromthefourthrow.com, where I write probably 70% of my reviews. Also, I write for disappointmentmedia.com. Those are the two websites that I write for. And you can find me under my name, Dan Skipbound, or DP Skipbound, or From the Fourth Row on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And those are pretty much the places that I share all my information and all my stuff to. So, and hopefully this is going to become a regular thing now. The rest of the year, we're getting into things, me and you, Malcolm.
Yeah, you can find me on Take Few Productions, as I host Rankin and that. Rankin will be back in the new year as well. In fact, I'll be over on the Movie Hero Network in a few hours, where we're doing a part 2 of our tournament fights on best movies of 2017. And I host trivia all over the place, and yeah, you can. That's where you can find me. But until next time, we shall see you at the movie.